Okay, now we're going to throw you've seen a flat bowl, now we're going to throw a tall centerpiece. And we can see Jane is centering the clay. Again, she's coning it up and forcing it back down, and she's coning it up again. And the coning process again is centering the middle part of the clay, which is very, very important, especially with a tall piece, which is what we're throwing now. So again, it's important to keep the surface of the clay the right slickness with the water. So she keeps dipping her left hand in the water and slopping the water onto the piece, but not too sloppy. And keeping control of the amount of slip there with the sponge. And you can know just kind of how it feels as to whether or not the piece is completely centered. Again, a lot of times the outside of the surface will look centered, but there's still a twist on the inside, and that's why we cone it up and down a couple of times. And so the piece is pretty well centered, and Jane's just shaping it into a good shape before she can start. And now she's pressing the clay down in the middle, and you may see that the ring of clay is still well centered, which is so important. She's using the sponge there to keep control of the pooling water on the inside. Again, as we add clay, or water rather, to the lip, the water accumulates in the bottom, and we want to keep control of that. It's very important that we don't have a little pool accumulating in the bottom, because that will make the bottom soft, and then later will destroy. So add a little bit of water there to the lip, and the water falls down the inside as well as the outside. And you can feel with your fingers the surface of the clay, if it's the right wetness or not as you're throwing. So again, she's making pulls. This is called making pulls, where she's pressing her fingers together and creating a little ridge of clay that she pulls that ridge of clay from the bottom to the top, and that process makes the piece taller and taller. And again, as we're making the pressing our fingers together at the bottom, you can see that little rim of clay start to form, and her fingers are pressing together fairly firmly at the bottom, and as they come closer and closer to the top, the pressure that she's exerting is less and less. And as the piece gets taller and taller, it requires more and more concentration. Now, one of the things that's very important, one of the principles, is that you never touch your piece unless it's turning, because that's what will cause it to become off-center. Even though you centered it in the beginning, you can always get off-center by touching the piece when the wheel is not turning. So as long as it's turning, you can alter it and shape it. You can even see Jane's fist as she goes down in the clay into the piece as it comes out. Got a little bit of wobbling going on there, but we still have really very good control as the pull comes up. Now you can see Jane is using the edge of her forefinger on the inside of the pot. What feels most comfortable is what different potters use surface-wise of their hands. Some will use their fingertips, some will use a sponge, some will use the edge of their finger or their knuckle. It all depends on what becomes comfortable to you. And there she's just kind of shaping it with her hands on the outside. And sure, I think put her hand down in there and make another pull. Even though there's not enough room for someone's hand to fit down there, you'll notice that when her hand goes down there, you'll see the shape of her fist on the outside of the piece. Here it comes. There, you can see her fist on the outside of the piece. And we're making a very fine pull now. We're not pressing very hard at all. And you can see those wonderfully beautiful throwing marks, those rings on the outside of the piece. That's a sign that a piece has been thrown on the wheel, and which is shaping the lip there. And now I think we have not only the height that we want, but we have a uniform thickness of the piece from the top to the bottom. And so now we're going to shape the piece into the form that we want. As she's pressing her hands gently together, she's forming it, making it just a little bit thinner where she wants it a little bit thinner. Adding just a little bit more water to the clay because her hands were dragging on the parts of the clay that were drying out. Added just a little bit more water to the rim there. And she's not doing a whole pull, she's just shaping a little bit with her hand on the inside. Now again, there's only so many shapes you can make on the wheel, and everything is round. So we like to alter our forms after we've made them on the wheel. Alter the forms and add slip trailing to them, and carvings and piercings and those little things that make the piece your own, that make it one of a kind. And now we're using a rib tool again to help shape the piece, and this will make the piece a little bit smoother on its surface, as well as helping Jane actually shape the overall shape of the vase. Now again, you can see that Jane has to hold her body in very uncomfortable positions. Now she's holding her head way over to the side, her left arm and elbow is up. So you can see this is very physically demanding work that requires the building up of static strength. And so it's very important after making a piece or two like this to get up and move around a little bit. And we both have a regular regimen of exercise. We both enjoy taking yoga together, and these sort of exercises are very, very important to maintaining the life of the working life of anyone that wants to do this sort of work. Again, we're using the rib tool to put the final shapes. Now you can see that the piece is no longer just a straight up and down cylinder, that it has a very pleasing to the eye, flaring shape to it. And now she's pulling the outer rim out just a little bit further. It's important that when she was pulling the rim out with her inside hand, that she was supporting the piece with the rib on the outside. And now we're again cutting off just a little the excess clay, which is not that much. There's just a little bit of excess clay there at the bottom. And the reason there's not very much is because she pulled all the excess clay up into the piece and used it.